Hi friends, welcome to today's video. My name is Ashley and I apologize this is being uploaded late, but listen, better late than never. So welcome to my 2024 reading wrap up. Okay, wait, I need to get my iPad because it has all my notes and stats and stuff. I'm here, and I'm ready. Throughout 2024, I've made a few bookish vlogs and talked about a few books that I was reading at the time, but I wasn't able to do monthly reading wrap-ups because if you don't already know, which I'd be surprised if you didn't because I make it my entire personality trait, I am a slow reader. My average reads per month is about 1 to 2 books, and that's on a good month. I was also in my last year of uni in 2024, so some months I did not have the time to pick up books. With that being said, this is my reading wrap up. I don't know what I'm blabbing on about. First, let's get into the stats, and then I am going to go through each and every book and I'll tell you what I rated them, so on and so forth. The total number of books I read last year, 2024, was 13 books. I believe the goal that I set for myself was 10 books. Guys, my expectations of myself are so low. Wait, let me see. The reading goal I set for myself was to read a minimum of 10 books, so one might say I'm an overachiever. Not really, I found a loophole, which we'll talk about later. 13 books, good number, I reckon. That averages to about 1 book a month, plus one more. The total number of pages I've read in 2024 is 3,784 pages. I don't know if that's good or bad. This is my first year counting the total number of pages, so my average star rating is 3.9 stars, which I reckon is pretty high. But with that being said, I also wouldn't really finish books that I don't think I'll enjoy. I just DNF books that I don't think I enjoy and will give a low rating to. My best reading month in 2024 was July, because I read 5 books that month, which is crazy. And I don't know what my worst reading month was. Wait, let me check, actually. In January, I read 2 books. In February, I read 1 book. March, I did not read any books, actually, so that might be my worst reading month. In April, I didn't finish a book, but I did start a book. May, I read 1 book. June, I did not read a book. I was in the middle of a book, but I didn't finish a book. July, like I said, 5 books, so that was my best reading month. August, finished 1 book. September, finished 1 book. October, I didn't finish a book. I was in the middle of one, though. November, I finished 1 book, and December, I finished another book. So my worst months are March, April, and June, I guess. But technically, it would be March because I did not pick up a single book in March. Okay, let's go back to the rest of the stats. Sorry, guys, I am jumping between pages. My lowest rated book is Melt With You by Jennifer Dugan, and my highest rated book is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And I will get to these shortly, but just so you know, those are my highest and lowest rated books. And I also DNF'd 3 books this year. The first is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I fear fantasy is just not for me, and I want to give it a chance because I have a stack of fantasy books in my TBR pile. A lot of people are saying that this is a good book to get into if you're a romance reader but want to dip your toes into fantasy. I just found the pacing so slow. I love the world building, don't get me wrong. I think I got into like 30% of the book and I was like, I can't, like, I want to get onto other books instead. So I DNF'd it and I gave my book away because I had a physical copy. I gave it away to a friend. The second book that I DNF'd is A Lady's Guide to Etiquette and Murder by Diane Freeman. It is a murder mystery set in the Regency era. It was just not very exciting. Pacing is weird as well. And I got pretty deep into that book. I think I was like 50% into the book and I was like, I can't, no more. No more. And the last book I DNF'd was Australia's Most Bizarre Crimes by Peter Coleman. This was my mistake. I picked it up. I saw it at Kmart and I thought it was really interesting. I should have read a little bit on what it's about. I thought it was like actual serious crimes, but the author recounts like petty crimes committed by Australians. So for example, people stealing statues and someone stealing a tram in Melbourne. It's a light-hearted, funny read. It's just not what I was expecting it to be. I expected it to be like serious crimes that happened in Australian history. Nope. So I had to DNF it. We still have the book though. Who knows, maybe I'll pick it up in the future, but I don't think I will. So those are my 3 DNFs for 2024. And now let's get into everything that I actually read fully in 2024. All right, the first book I read in 2024 is Heartstopper Volume 5 by Alice Oseman. I already did a reading wrap up with this book and the next book actually, but let me just put out my thoughts in a very succinct manner in this video. I rated this book 4 stars, and my mistake getting into this book was that I didn't reacquaint myself with Volume 4. So the first bit of this book, I was kind of like, what's happening? Where are we? Like, what's going on? Where are we in the story of Nick and Charlie? So I was a little bit confused at the start, but eventually I caught up. My brain caught up. I rated it 4 stars because I just love seeing Nick and Charlie and their friends kind of grow. That's kind of what the whole Heartstopper series is just watching some queer teenagers grow up. And that sounded really offensive. No, but for real. It's kind of just like a character study, this whole series. You see Nick and Charlie from when they met to wherever they are in their relationship at this point in this book. It's for the most part, it's lighthearted, it's sweet, it's wholesome, and any difficult topics are dealt with sensitively and in a more palatable manner, I reckon. But it's also not life-changing, so that's why I didn't give it 5 stars. And also, I'm reading this as a 23-year-old, so I can't exactly relate to the characters. They're very sweet, and I do love these characters, but I guess like where I am in my stage of life, is that the right term? I don't know. I just can't relate to these characters anymore. So while I love them, there's not that deep connection with the series like I know teenagers do. So that's why I gave that a 4 stars. And my second read of the year, and I surprisingly even finished this, is Melt With You by Jennifer Dugan. Like I said, I already did a whole review slash rant of this book, but I guess my main notes are it's just underwhelming and disappointing. The premise of it is really interesting, actually, but the execution was not. Basically, it's about these 2 best friends who, over one summer, they kind of hooked up, and then that caused a rift between them, and then they stopped talking. But then their parents own an ice cream truck, and so they were forced to do a road trip with the ice cream truck the following year, and it's awkward, and there's tension. It sounded very interesting, hence why I picked it up. I got this on my Sydney trip at the end of 2023, but I just feel like it did not need to be dragged out for 300 plus pages. It could have been a short story, it could have been a novella, and I think it would have turned out better that way. Hi, Lala. Sorry, my grandma came in. She's a sweetheart. I love her. But yeah, like I was saying, I feel like if this was 100 pages and it was just a novella, it would have turned out. I think I would have liked it better. I think there was just a lot that didn't need to happen. Moving on. My third book of the year is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and I rated this book 4.5 stars. I guess I just had really high expectations because of all the edits and what everyone is saying on TikTok. So maybe that's on me. But it was really enjoyable. Lynn Painter, this is the first book that I've read by her, but Lynn Painter has the recipe for a rom-com down to the T. The story played out the way rom-coms do in movies, and I love rom-com so much. Like it is genuinely my favorite genre. Not because I think it's a cinematic masterpiece, but it's just fun and entertaining and at times heartfelt. It's not the deepest story or the most beautiful movies made, but I have a connection to rom-coms. So I love this one so much, and it also has a lot of reference to rom-coms. So I love that so much. Just look at the cover. This is The Notebook, right? This is The Notebook. I forgot what that one is. This one is Dirty Dancing. I don't know what that one is. The pacing and the writing style of the author, beautiful. I'm just gonna do a little spoiler discussion real quickly, so feel free to mute or skip this portion of the video. I will do this when you can start listening again, okay? So 4.5 stars, and the big reason is these characters are teenagers. So as a 23-year-old, and as my frontal lobe is getting closer to being fully developed, I can't relate to these characters anymore. I personally feel like they're still very young and immature. And that is also why I understand why Lynn Painter made the sequel to this book, Nothing Like the Movies, which I haven't read yet, by the way, so no spoilers, please. Um, I understand why she made Liz and Wes break up for Nothing Like the Movies and put them in a second chance romance. Because personally, as charming and sweet as Wes is, I reckon he's pretty mature. And Liz, by the end of Better Than the Movies, is still quite naive. Yes, she did have some character growth by the end of the book, but at the end of the day, Liz and Wes are freshly out of high school. Up to this point, their entire lives have just been contained in this like one bubble. For the most part, when you're a teenager who lives the privileged life that these characters do, your life revolves around high school and dating and your social circles and maybe sports and extracurriculars, but that's pretty much it. Now, Liz and Wes, after Better Than the Movies, heads on to college and they get to be exposed to a lot of real world stuff and more complicated situations, so on and so forth. So I understand like how the pressures of the world and growing up could have, broken down the relationship. Because, like I said, at the end of this book, these children, these children, Liz and Wes are still pretty naive and oblivious to how the real world is, Their love and relationship is confined within their town and what they know from high school. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I hope that makes sense. All I'm trying to say is I understand where Lynn Painter is coming from, having Liz and Wes break up between Better Than the Movies and Nothing Like the Movies. So yeah, 4.5 because I guess I just can't relate to it and it is very much, I wouldn't say shallow, it's just that the characters aren't fully fleshed out and developed at this point in their lives. And I wouldn't say it's a critique, it's more like an observation. Okay, I'm gonna do this now. Hi, friends. Are you back? Are you back? Okay, hello. Thank you so much for sticking around if you're gonna keep watching this video. And yeah. Next book I read is Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series, and this is between Declan and Iris. And I really enjoyed this book, but oh, I forgot to say, I rated it 3.5 stars. And I really enjoyed this book, but it is nothing life-changing. Declan, I'm sorry, but he's just like any other billionaire guy love interest in a romance. There is nothing about him that stands out. I love Iris though. Like, she is a strong, independent, boss bitch woman, and I like how she puts Declan in his place. Because Declan, at many points in this book, needed humbling. I'm not gonna lie, it's nothing too special or life-changing. I enjoyed it, and it's a good palate cleanser in between other books, but that is pretty much it. 3.5 enjoyable. I would recommend it to other people, but I also understand why it's not for everyone or why other people wouldn't enjoy it. The fifth book that I read this year is Lex Croucher's Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. And I actually filmed a bookish vlog where I review this. And in that video, I went from 5 stars and then brought it down to 4.75 stars. But actually, I'm going to put it back up to a 5 stars because these characters mean so much to me. So much to me. And they live rent-free in my mind. I don't think there's a week that goes by that I don't think about them. Genuinely. Seriously. The story is good. I do have some critiques on it. But I feel like if this book was any better, it would be 6 stars. Which I know is technically off the scale, but that's how much I love it. These characters, and I've said this before and I will keep saying it, these characters could literally banter at a dinner table in a novella and I would eat that shit up. These characters just mean so much to me, and that is enough to make it 5 stars for me. And that is all I'll say. If you want to hear about my like fully fleshed thoughts on that book, you can watch, I think it was in July or August that I posted that reading bookish vlog, which is one of my favorite vlogs of 2024, by the way. Moving on is Toshikazu Kawaguchi's Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This is a very short book, and I rated this 4 stars. I went through a roller coaster of emotions going through this book. If you don't know what it's about, why not? No, I'm kidding. Basically, this Japanese cafe where you can time travel, and there's a bunch of rules surrounding the time travel, but the big one is that you need to get back to the present before the coffee gets cold. And this book is divided into 3 short stories, so you can kind of see it as an anthology or a collection of short stories instead of like one big book. With that being said, the whole book is only divided into the 3 short stories, so if you hate long chapters, that's something to keep in mind, because while this is a short book, each like story is about 50 ish pages. So you'll get through it quickly. You'll get through it quickly. Don't worry. Each story leaves you with a different lesson and emotion. Like at one point in the story, I was like, "Aw," and then the next story, I was like bawling my eyes out, and then the next story, I was bawling my eyes out even more. And also, I forgot to mention, but this is a part of an ongoing series. So I think there's 4 or 5 books out. And I've actually got the next book already. So I'm excited to read that in 2025. I mentioned this in my reading vlog where I was reading it. It's just that I kind of lose momentum reading the stories because, when you get introduced to a story, you get the whole plot graph of like introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. So it's just that you going like this across the 3 stories. So it just depends on your mood, I guess. I took a little longer because of that. I think that's my only critique of it, really. The next book that I read this year is She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. And if I could describe this book in one sentence, I would say that it's like better than the movies, but make it queer, and the story is a little bit more elevated. Is that controversial? Maybe, but it is what it is, and that's how I feel. Don't come for me. Basically, I feel like the growth of the characters in this book is just a lot more deep and meaningful and more mature than the lessons learned in Better Than the Movies. Like I said, Better Than the Movies really reads like a rom-com, so it's not that deep. There are deep and sentimental and lesson-filled moments, but I feel like this just kind of did it better. And the only reason that I didn't give it 5 stars because Scotty's character development took so long. I hated her 80% of the book. I wouldn't say hate. I just disliked her. I don't know if that's any better. I just disliked her character 80% of the book. I loved Irene. Irene, you're a queen. But Scotty, I just feel like her character development could have been done sooner so that I enjoyed her character sooner because I could not root for her half the time. It was hard. It was hard. Come on, Scotty, do better. Okay, these next 3 books, I need you not to judge me, okay? But I started this YouTube video where I read my childhood books, but I scrapped the whole video. But I'm still counting these in my reading goal. And this is where I say, like, what do you mean I rated these higher than Jennifer Dugan's Melt With You? Because these are literally children's books. So I can't believe we're going down memory lane, but the first book I read for this kind of portion of my year was Geronimo Stilton, Lost Treasure of the Emerald Eye. This is book 1, the first Geronimo Stilton book, and I rated this 3 stars. And in my notes, I described this as mid. I guess because this is the first book ever, they were kind of setting up who Geronimo Stilton is, like who these other characters are. I just feel like it was a whole lot of introduction and setting up for the rest of the series, so it wasn't very exciting personally. So that's why I gave it 3 stars. And while I was reading that, I was kind of just questioning everything about my childhood, where I was like, was my mind as a child so different from my adult mind that I can't seem to enjoy this? I collected these, but turns out it's just that first book because I rated the next book 5 stars. This is Geronimo Stilton, The Christmas Toy Factory, and I remember growing up, I really loved the Christmas books more than anything, honestly, and I rated this 5 stars, and reading it, it's like all my memories surrounding this book just popped up, and I was like, oh my god, I do remember this plot line, and so on and so forth. Love this. Would reread, honestly. I feel like I should reread this every Christmas time. I should have done that. Maybe I'll do it next year. Who knows? 5 stars. The next book that I read, and kind of the last book in my reading my childhood book series before I stopped it, is Jeff Kinney's Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And I rated this book, honestly, I put down here that I rated it 3 stars. I'm gonna put it down to a 2.5 stars because I am a Greg Heffley hater. He is such an annoying kid. He is a bad friend. He's an annoying kid. Sorry, I'm getting triggered right now. I don't hate kids, but if there is one character that would make me hate kids, is Greg. Like, he did Rowley so dirty. If I were his parents, I'd be so pissed. He did get character development, but considering that there's like 20 books in this series, I feel like he's gonna continue to fuck up, and I'm pretty sure he does continue to fuck up. So his character development, I wouldn't say is short-lived. It's just that his character development comes, I guess, in short increments. But the format and pacing of it all, I love though. Look at it. Like the text is big, there's drawings, that's fun. But the actual character, hate him. I'm sorry I'm hating on a kid, but it's true. Moving on and going back to our regular scheduled programming, I read Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner, and I rated this a I'm surprised about my own rating. I rated this a 3.75 stars. I really enjoyed it, but kind of the same way I feel about Terms and Conditions is how I feel about this one. This is a good filler book. It's enjoyable, but would I say it's life-changing? No. I did, however, have a whole love life crisis with this because they're so cute, and I was kind of like, sorry, it's really hot. I was kind of like, when will it be my turn? But maybe that's a me problem. Who knows? I do love the representation in this book and how they incorporated it. Spoiler alert, this character, her name is Phoebe. She is very much ADHD. Like, it is so freaking apparent, but they don't address it much later in the book. And I was like, I knew it. I knew it. But I like how her ADHD is incorporated, and it made me feel very seen because personally, I feel like I am undiagnosed ADHD as well. I'm not gonna get into that, but I felt seen. But I also feel like, wow, am I really that annoying? Because let's be honest, she was kind of annoying, but I also relate to her. So I feel like I'm annoying. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into all that. Second to the last book that I read this year is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. If you are on BookTok, you would know about this book. This book made its rounds in around 2021, 2022, I think. And I rated this book 4 stars. And the main reason why I gave it 4 stars is because of the freaking love triangle. Spoiler alert, maybe. But honestly, I feel like anyone who hates love triangles, technically a love angle. If you know the difference, you know. But if you hate, I'm gonna refer to it as love triangle. But if you hate love triangles, I feel like you deserve to know before getting into this book because I hate the fucking love triangle so much. I feel like as this video keeps going on, I just keep getting more and more unhinged. Give me a second. Okay, hello, I composed myself. I'm sorry. Basically, this book is a YA mystery novel and has a subplot, I guess, of romance. But the romance is a love triangle. I hate that so much. So much so that I actually searched up who the main character ends up with because I refuse to root for the wrong guy. Anyway, going back to the mystery aspect, I really, really enjoyed it. I loved how it was presented to us, the readers, and I really love the atmosphere as well because if you don't know what the story is about, it is about this girl named Avery who comes from an impoverished, less fortunate background, and she inherits billions from this random billionaire in Texas. And she moves into his estate where she meets his grandsons and other family members, and the estate has hidden doors and hidden hallways and passages, and there's this old money aspect to the whole setting as well. So that was very interesting and entertaining to read about. But again, I had to knock down a star for the love triangle because I don't like it. I don't like it. And the last book I read this year is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the same author as The Inheritance Games, but I rated this 5 freaking stars. And if I could only review this book in one sentence, I would say that this is what I expected The Inheritance Games and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder to be. This book means so much to me. I'm currently reading the second book actually in the series, but I would say this is a YA Criminal Minds, and that is how everybody has been describing it. I went into this book knowing that I went into this book expecting that I would like this more than The Inheritance Games. I was correct. But I was also trying to tamper my expectations because if there's one thing this author likes, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, she loves love triangles. So yes, there is a love triangle in this book, but I feel like the way it was discussed and handled is a lot better than The Inheritance Games. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But if you don't know what this book is about, it is about a group of teenagers who have, I wouldn't say supernatural abilities, but more so enhanced gifted abilities. And they are recruited into this FBI program where they can use their skills to help solve cold cases. And of course, there's twists and turns, and the plot twist in this book is insane. I did not see that coming. I don't know if it's because I'm a mystery newbie or because it's genuinely that good, but I was shooketh, to say the least. I don't know if I already said this. I rated this 5 stars, and I am so excited for the rest of the series. All right, so those are the 13 books that I read in 2024. I don't know what else to say about them. Nothing really. I already yapped on for however long I yapped for. Going into 2025, my reading goal is to read 12 books minimum, I think. I will definitely have more time on my hands this 2025. I can dedicate more time to reading instead and doing other hobbies. And so I hope I'll be able to read 12 books at least. That averages to one book a month. And I hope everybody manifest this with me, that I hope I don't get into a reading slump, because I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to. It's like one of my biggest fears. That is an exaggeration, but I really dislike reading slumps and it's so hard to get out of them. Anyway, that is my 2025 reading goal. I will get more into bookish things when I do bookish vlogs this year, and I'm hoping to do more this year as well. That's a YouTube goal of mine, to do more bookish vlogs. But I think I'll leave it at that. So thank you so much for watching, especially if you've made it to the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I will leave my social media down below, so check those out if you are interested. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!